we've got a great episode with one of my closest friends and business partner, Danny Goodman, Varsity
What's
House Gym, Business
happening?
of Strength. And I love Dan. I spoke about him at our Underground Strength Con and said Dan is like the ultimate guy when it comes to leadership and being level-headed. And he's very modest, so he won't say, "Yeah, that's right, I'm the best." But I'm just speaking
No,
the facts, Danny Goods.
no, I appreciate it. I feel like I should be here, like eating a sandwich with you. This is like what we do all the time, and
That's right.
we just decided to record it. And if I do actually have a sandwich here, but I want to make sure if Mr. Hashman
That's
ever
right.
watches this, I don't give him, the audio visual connection to be
He'll
able
crush
to
us.
haze me in the future. So happy to be here, Zach.
Great to have you. And yeah, for people who, for context, we're in a, shit talking group, and it's Joe Hashi is in there, and he's like a fifth degree black belt in talking shit. I mean, you think you got him, but you don't.
No, never, never. And he comes off as being this quiet, mild mannered, type of guy. And he's got all the tricks. He fights dirty, that's for certain.
Yep. Sharp guy in business, and then always doing challenging activities out there, like running through mountains, doing wild stuff. But anyway, we're going to talk about business. It's been a very long time since I've had a business focused episode. Sometimes I'll do it Q&A style. And I was, of course, thinking about you guys have a London trip coming up with your company, Business of Strength.
Yep.
I am in the business of strength. And I've been since, the early 2000s when I got into the business. Ryan Lee was kind of the only guy putting out business content, and I would go into all of his coaching groups, everything. I mean, one of them was a 8 p.m. until 4 a.m. business seminar, and it was done that way because they had been to this other guy. His name was Randy something, and that guy did a business seminar. And the reason why that guy went 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. was it was going to separate who really wanted it. And I remember we went with a group of guys. It was in Connecticut, and 4 a.m., drive back to Jersey, go to a diner. And I didn't even sleep. I went right to work. And of course, I was younger. I'm 50. So if that would have been, let's say, 04, 05, 20 years ago, geez, I was
It's
30,
crazy.
31, 32. And so with you going out to London, I've had guys come out to the early underground strength coach certification from the UK. They were always tough. I don't know if it was just my luck, but it would oftentimes be business partners, two guys running a gym together, fly, afford the ticket, afford the certification, but they would show up, and then midway into the day one cert, they'd say, hey man, we don't have a place to stay. We did rent a car. We're ready to sleep in the car. We could sleep on the gym floor, but there would always be something that'd say, hey man, just sleep on my hotel floor. But they were always tough. They were always
Tough.
hungry. And I always said, if you're ready and willing to sleep in your car, you will win. And so that brings me to the question. I just kind of went into 50 different directions. Like, do you still come across coaches like that who are so
Yeah.
hungry and ready
I
to
mean,
sleep in their car?
honestly, like so it's funny. I saw you share something of a picture of you with Ryan Lee on
Yes.
Facebook. I think yesterday or the day before.
Yes.
AJ Roberts is in the photo. And we hired Ryan Lee in 2014 to come in and do a full day in service at Varsity House. We ran it on a credit card. We had no business paying for it. Yeah, it was $10,000 for one day. It was just like, this is the guy. We want whatever he's got, and we want him in our space. And I think at the time we were willing to eat peanut butter and jellies and just make no money. Just we wanted the secret sauce, and we wanted to associate with the people doing it ahead of us. And at that same time, we made a decision that we were going to go out to Jim Jones, which today, people listening this, they might not know, but 2000, let's call it 8 to 2016, they were, I mean, it was the fight club of gyms, and Joe and I
Yes.
went out there, and we hung it on the line physically, mentally, and we met people from all over the world.
Yeah.
And it just normalized hard work. And there was so many men and women from the UK and Australia. And I remember I'm still friends with, we had a guy from Australia, Ryan Abbott, come out, and he lived here for a year. Dude was couch surfing, lived at Joe's house, lived at my house, finally got an Airbnb. Dude was willing to lay it on the line for his career.
What was he
And
doing? Learning the business,
he
learning
was learning,
training?
and then he coached. He was coaching, learning the business. He went back to Australia, and he eventually, now he's coaching, and he became a full-time firefighter, but just a badass dude. And I met Steve Kaloenko there. I met just a lot of people where I was like, holy shit, these guys are. Chris Feather, that owns 98th Street in Australia. It's just, and he's from the UK, was a professional rugby player. And I was just like, wow, there's another gear. And specifically for the European crowd, they don't, you look at some Americans, and I'll say, like, at this point we could be slightly spoiled with our accommodations, but it didn't start off that way. They'll go, and like you said, youth hostels, you know traveling, however, by any means necessary. And I appreciated that. And the reason why we went out to London originally, it really was, we were put on the back of guys that we had met through Jim Jones. We went out before we were even running a consulting company. We're just like, hey, we like talking about business. Let's go train. Let's see if we could sell a couple tickets. Sure enough, we sold 20 tickets. And Joe and I were flying back from London. We're like, holy shit, man. Like, I think we're onto something. And we signed up a couple of gyms that stayed on with us for years to do evergreen consulting. And here we are today, 2026. We've run the business of strength. Next year will be 10 years. But it really started with a plane ride home from London, where we just went, we ran a one-off event. And on the plane ride home, I vividly remember with Joe, hey, I think we're on to something here. And it really was built on the back of some of the hard work and the gritty crew that showed up to that, you know, dungeon gym in outside of London. And it was a nice gym, but it's, if you've ever been to London, there's not a lot of heat. There's not a lot of AC. It was the thick of winter. And there was just some badass people that showed up to that and believed in us. And, now here we are 9 years later, going back to do it again.
It's amazing. And also for people that we were talking about, people signing up for consulting with you. You guys have the Business of Strength. That is a coaching group with live seminars, masterminds, coaching every month. Dan, I like to always be very transparent. Why are we as coaches like can't sometimes get out of our own head and we're overwhelmed and we overthink things? I almost feel like it's how a parent, I must assume how their mind works when their kid is in sports. They must be like, even if they have the background in baseball or hockey, and then now they're in it and they're like, I don't know what to do. What has your been experience? What do we tend to do wrong that works against us as gym owners and strength coaches?
I think we just have like general decision fatigue where, and I also think some of the education that goes into becoming a strength coach or a personal trainer, it's all about the like the end game of it is, how do I understand the anatomy of this human? How do I get them from point A to point B with weight loss? But what do they talk about in the E-Myth? Like, the biggest fallacy is that, somebody that knows how to cut hair knows how to run a hair salon. It's the same thing with gyms. The biggest fallacy is, just because you know how to get strong yourself doesn't mean you're going to know how to run a business that knows how to get people strong. And it's it sounds cliched, but sometimes when you're in the bottle of it, it's hard to read the label. And I look at it like this: I still, to this day, I have, let's call it, people, trusted resources to this day, where I like to be coached. So I have somebody that helps me with my public speaking. I have somebody that helps me with money management. I have a business coach, because if you're trying to get and extract that next 1%, the Olympics are going on right now. Do any of those Olympic athletes not have coaches?
Exactly.
Why
They,
not? And look, like, Zach, here's the thing. If you were training for I don't know, you were going to see your buddy Joe DeSena and you guys were going to do something nuts, wouldn't it benefit you to like hire John Wellborn and be like, dude, I've got 12 weeks. I need you to save me from myself. Here, you are well trained, well educated, a goat in this industry. But wouldn't it benefit you if money was no objective to say, hey, this is my plan. John, take a look at the plan. Hold me accountable to it.
Yeah.
What can we do to make it better? And that's just where we step in. And I think sometimes for people, they need saving from themselves. And the decision fatigue where it's like, let me serve everybody else, let me serve my family, let me serve my clients, let me serve my husband or wife, and then like you don't serve the business. And like the business is the host. All of it
Yes.
goes away if you don't feed the host, and the host is the business. And we help people prioritize that and allow them what to focus on. And it really doesn't have to be that hard either. I think people overcomplicate a lot of it. And you gave me a nice shout out in the beginning, but people look at this with too much emotion. And people that play the game of business with too much emotion, don't get it twisted. I love this business, and I've sacrificed a tremendous amount of my life for it. But I try to look through it through a lens of how do I remove some of my daily emotions in order to make thoughtful, critical decisions that aren't put upon by my feeling in this moment.
There's a quote out there. I don't remember who said it, but it's, I think, to the effect of, you will continue to struggle if you consistently respond to every scenario with your emotions or with an emotional response. And somebody who is a strength coach is often, not always, but very passionate, very
Totally.
emotionally driven. And so it's very hard to shut off your emotions. But you've said something very often is, what is the data? The data does not lie. You have to look at the numbers. That has been super helpful for me because I was on the floor. I started the business in '02, and I worked 5, 6 days a week on the floor up until a year and a half ago. So a year and a half ago, now when I have a meeting with the coaches, I need, as you guys advise, is have a scorecard. What does the scorecard say? That's what will determine our course of action, not what you feel, what you like, and that could really crush a business. You also mentioned, if money was no object, hire John Wellborn or whoever the coach is. Damn, but even when people have the money, they still don't take action. So let's say, I live in Manasquan, pretty affluent area. For some people, they're not like super fired up to help their kid become like a badass. But I've always said, in North Jersey, I got a lot more of that. I had parents finding the money when they didn't technically, they were not as well off as people down this area, but we had people finding a way. And I was thinking of it this weekend as I drove to Bucknell. I passed Phillipsburg, which is over an hour from Edison. I said to my wife, I said, Danielle, I used to train a kid from Phillipsburg, and I didn't realize how far it was. I was like, oh my God. His mom would drive him down here, an hour and 15 minutes each way, maybe an hour and a half with traffic, train for an hour, then go back twice a week. So we're looking at a 4 or 5, the whole day after school. His whole day revolved around 1 hour at the underground. People, what if money, why would a coach not want to take that action, even if money is no object?
I mean, I think part of it, and like speaking to your point too, Zach, is in today's day and age, information is not, well, access to information is not the problem. Information overload could be the problem. But a
Yes.
lot of parents that maybe are uninformed might be thinking like, hey, uh, like Zach, the weight room's open after school. Go to the school gym and save your family $300 a month.
Hmm.
But like, it comes back to the John Wooden quote, like never mistake activity for achievement. I went to the weight room for a long time after school and I tried really hard. And for a while I did get better. I think when you're a teenager, you could just look at weights, do curls and shitty deadlifts and get stronger for a moment. But I would have been way better served if I had been in a program like yours when I was 16 years old. So I think it begs the point for somebody like you, not answering your question, but it's why you need to be educating in your community all the time. Because I think if my parents stumbled upon an ad where you were educating about how you could help their 16-year-old son, I know my parents would have signed me up for something like that. But they just didn't know, and
Yeah.
I think it's why you constantly have to be, educating, empowering, getting in your community, getting super locally famous, and getting people to truly understand the impact that you can make. Now, specific to your question, again, it's like, yeah, there are 230 business of strength podcasts. There's 10 free downloads. There's events that you could come to that range in price from freaking $100 to $500, where we give you everything. We give you
A hundred
every
bucks is nothing,
it's nothing. We
right?
give you every system we've got at most of these events.
Yes.
Just because you have the info and the yellow brick road, so to speak, doesn't mean you'll do anything with it. It's the same thing, ChatGPT. I could go on ChatGPT and be like, write me a program that Power Athlete would approve of. Doesn't mean I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the separating factor with what we do in the business of strength is that we create it's a 6-week one-on-one onboard custom plan. And we are going to coach you to do what you said you were going to do, very similarly to how coaches coach their clients in the gym. This is the goal. This is the objective. This is the plan. Okay, well, now I'm holding you to the fire to do the damn plan. Same thing on the BOS. And I think that's a separating factor. It's not a series of webinars or live events solely. Sure, we utilize those things, but it's one-on-one coaching, and it's chop busting. I was texting a gym this morning in Toronto that owes me some work. Like, hey, let's go. Like, where is this work? It's not for me. It's for you. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, thanks so much for holding me accountable. So all it is at the end of the day, I pay a lot of money for accountability. Most people in their life, what they lack is accountability. And that's what your gyms provide. That's what our consulting business provides.
And also the depth of the education, like you said, you know, kids can do the same exercises, but I always say I drive a car, but I don't race NASCAR, right? It's the same thing. It's just a whole nother level. I got two questions and I'm
Yeah.
going to put them in order because sometimes I forget. So, I'm going to ask you the first one. So the first one is looking back, Jim Jones. I came across their work in the early 2000s before there was streaming videos. I remember anytime you would watch somebody's video, they would get charged. So I remember a friend of mine like he built me a computer and I was like, dude, I have to be able to watch these videos from this website, Jim Jones. So we're talking '05, I think, maybe '04. And I said, it has to be able to play. I can't be waiting for this thing to download. And so I remember my friend like building out my computer, building it literally. And I look back at that, Dan, and it was all you mentioned how hard it was. And today I feel like in our marketing, in our education, even in our advertising, I've heard coaches say, don't show your athletes deadlifting 5 plates. Like you should show people laughing and smiling together because you're going to
Yeah.
intimidate them. So I want to talk about that. Like, is hard work like this taboo thing and it scares people? So that's one. And number two, you just mentioned the constantly educating. So I wanted to pile these up because I'll sometimes forget. So I want you to talk after the Jim Jones and the hard work thing. What should we be educating people on? Because you guys, when you post a business of strength video, I'm like, why is there not 1,000 likes on this thing? There's gym owners and strength coaches. There's like, you could be in a little town like mine and there's multiple trainers and gym owners here. There should be more eyeballs. So I want to talk about the taboo of hard work and educating as a business owner.
Well, like it's a lot to unpack, but I mean, something that I was talking about with my dad and brother actually this weekend is just the amount of noise. Like
Mhm.
there is so much noise. I mean, I think about like in the early days of YouTube, like who was doing what you were doing in 2006? Seriously.
It was me, and then Elliot Hulse, and then some people started it, and then they stopped, and then Jim Jones had, and then you had CrossFit, and I think what attracted people to CrossFit and Jim Jones, because at one point they worked together, was you're like working hard, you're in this little garage gym, you're tough, we're going to do it together. There was something about it. And I feel like we're in a world where don't make it look too hard. People are scared. And the real question is, where the fuck are all the tough people? Why the fuck are we so
Well,
scared to post deadlifts now? It's kind of, it sounds so weak, to be honest with you.
no, I hear you. And like I think the one thing to come full circle on the noise is, is the authenticity of be who you are.
Hmm.
Like, and I know that's so corny to say it even like out loud, but like, I think the people that are pretenders and yeah, like you might have to, I mean, Varsity House, what we post isn't always like the most hardcore stuff. Does that exist in the gym sometimes? Totally. But it's like the 10%. So it's got to be 10% of what we post. Most of the time, it's moms and dads checking a box, high-fiving, having a nice time, progressively overloading, and they don't want to get like strung out by a workout. Does
Hmm.
that happen with certain groups? Sure. Do we post about that sometimes? Absolutely, but it's not our bread and butter anymore. Whereas 15 years ago, it was. I mean, I look at like something that we've talked about in the past. Have you seen some of these videos of Diamond Jim and Maplewood recently?
Of course. Yeah.
They're going viral because they're leaning
Yeah.
into the absurdity of who they are and what they're all about.
And people love it.
And people love it.
They're
And
on
it's
board
like
with it.
they're on board with it. I think it's also understanding like who you are and who you want to serve. And sometimes people have trouble. I certainly had trouble with this, where it was like, I'm an athlete, I'm an offensive lineman, I want to be strong, I want to train kids for the freaking trenches, I want to train wrestlers, football players, people are willing to go hard because that's what I associated my psyche with being and the people I liked being around. Ultimately, as I started to get older, I couldn't put forth as many training hours and be doing that all the freaking time. And our
Yep.
business was evolving. I was getting older. Our clients were getting older, and you know things have evolved in our business. And I think people have to understand like who we serve today has less to do with like what I'm all about. And I think that's something that, I'm sure it's been hard for you too. Like, when you started, you're a different person than you are you're 50 today.
I'm way different. It make it. I actually, Mike Wadango years ago was like, Zach, would you train adults? In fact, even before that, Gary Vaynerchuk told me, you mentioned paying 10 grand. I think I can't remember if I paid him 3 grand or 4 grand for the hour. I think it was 3 grand, but it was initially going to be 10 grand. But he's like, dude, I think you should be in like North Jersey training like stay-at-home moms. I said, no way. I ain't fucking selling out. That's not who I am. I'm like, I'm fucking training people like this is Rocky 3 and Rocky
Right.
4. And I told him, he's like, what if you could make XYZ money? I said, I don't care. I ain't selling out. And now I'm the adult. So I've evolved. I think as I'm having this conversation with you, those kind of intense type Jim Jones and early CrossFit people, they just went the home gym route.
A
They
lot of
just,
them did. And like you're asking, are there still people? Look, I still train a guy. His name's Tony. I train Tony Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Tony's 67 years old. When I started training Tony, he was a dad of a kid, a baseball player I was training. He was 52. Tony's the CEO of a company. They have hundreds of employees. He's on the road right now. But Tony is tough and he trains hard,
yeah.
but he's 67 years old.
So
So
that's,
what we're doing today, if you came in off the street, you'd be like, like whatever. I'm like, I don't know. dude can still bench press his body weight. He can squat his body weight. He can push, pull, drag sleds. Like, guys training, but to the naked eye, it wouldn't look like, maybe those old school sessions when we first started. But I think at the end of the day, training is training. Getting somebody what they want is the objective of a coach. And I think what I had to evolve from is the feeling of getting somebody what they want in your gym is is a great feeling regardless of the goal. And it took me probably 10 years to figure that out. But, it's, I was listening recently, but like, we've had guys win NCAA national titles. We've had
Yes.
guys win the Super Bowl. It's awesome, but it fades really fast, man.
Yeah.
It fades really freaking fast. And that person that loses 50 pounds, that person that was a pre-diabetic that no longer is anybody, that person that could be overcoming, something personally and using the gym as a vehicle, those wins are just as impactful. And I don't know. I think sometimes generations certainly change, but there are people that are willing to work. Um, no doubt about it. And I think back to your original question, you're gonna have to remind me the second one, but the original question is, are there people willing to work? Definitely.
Yeah, like the
Uh,
Jim Jones. Why is that
Look at
model?
High Rocks though. High Rocks
Yeah.
is hard,
Yes. Very hard. I'm not a fan of the technique of like doing a mile of burpees or whatever, a 400
but
meter
it's hard.
burpee
It's
broad jump. Yeah.
certainly hard.
And it's simple. It's not complex. It's not complicated. Um,
You
and
also
so,
have
yeah,
a resurgence of bodybuilding. I mean, bodybuilding's
yes.
hot right now.
I don't know about competitive bodybuilding, but like Instagram style
Instagram
bodybuilding.
bodybuilding is big.
Yeah. Why? Why do you think so?
I don't know. I mean, well, look, some of these new health clubs that are popping up are, I think we were talking before the show started here, is they're social clubs, they're pickup spots, they're, in this era, I'll tell you what, like when I was playing, it was lift hard, like eat for size, drink a ton of, like I'm telling you, like at in the early 2000s, drinking culture was big in college. Like lift, eat, play hard, drink on the weekends, repeat. Like I don't know if people that are 25 and under, they're not drinking the way that they were. So I think what's in vogue is these recovery uh, modalities, sauna, cold plunge, doing these fitness and wellness retreats, going to the gym with your friends, like recording what you're
So
doing,
that
like
that being said, Dan, yeah, we do see massive gyms opening up, whereas kind of our kind of gym is more of coaching
yeah,
facilities. Um, do you guys ever talk to one another and say, what is the future of gyms? Do you guys ever have these conversations? Or do you like, meaning, does our gym need a recovery lounge? Do we need an open gym area where people could swipe in and use a bunch of
yeah.
arsenal equipment? Do
Yeah, I
you
mean,
ever?
believe me, it's definitely in our HQ facility. It's definitely something that we've thought about. But here's what we always come back to: there is private equity money coming in a hurry to these lounge type places where there's a coffee shop, saunas, cold plunges,
It's
you know,
$1 million to
right?
start
Like,
them, maybe
and
more.
and, and Lifetime, Equinox, like this is bank backed properties and money in a different style. They're country clubs that cost 354 $450 a month just for access.
Yes.
And it come back to this, it's like if you open a gym that's, let's just say arbitrarily 2,000 square feet, it's nicely appointed, it's you, one other person, maybe two that are strength professionals, and you go to a market that can afford your services, you need 100 to 120 clients to be doing really solid, really good. And when these gyms get focused on meal delivery services and Normatec leg things. Look at the cryo chamber things. Where are they? They're gone. People were spending 20 grand on them. Now, you're focused on the wrong things, because if your gym can handle a max capacity of say 120 clients and your 6 p.m. session is consistently underutilized, you're able to take 8 people in that session, you constantly have two. What you should be focused on is, why is there not 8 people in that session? Not because you don't have Normatec legs to utilize after your session. And look, at the end of the day, especially what happens 20 years from now, I have no idea. But I can tell you this much: people that are 35 and up, 40 and up, they're still like, it's a different era where they still, and I think people always will, but I can certainly vouch for people 35 and up, is that people still will pay for service. People still will pay for being recognized, heard, understood. People know their name, know their likes, know their dislikes, addressed with speed and accuracy. People will pay for that. People want to be served. It's service first. That's Varsity House. Like, has our product evolved over the years? Definitely. But our attention to detail on serving our customers, the way that we present, is definitely evolved. But we've always been super militant on serving the shit out of the people that are right in front of us, holding them accountable, worried about them if they don't show up, going to their games, going to weddings, inviting them to things, exceeding the expectation of what a gym should be. So the service has always been exceptional. And I think people will always, just like people will always pay for expensive hotels, I think people will always pay for exceptional service.
And also, as you said, it's the accountability factor. I think we're at a almost at a breaking point where people are realizing, man, I might know how to train, or I might know how to eat, but I'm still eating like shit, or I'm still not losing weight, or I don't even look better.
Yeah.
I need to get a coach. So you mentioned education, getting out and educating people as a gym owner. Um, we have been doing in-house or seminars at the gym to educate parents, and even that, is hard to get people to show up. What do you think is important with what we educate them with, and also the marketing behind it? How do you actually get people to show up? And another gym owner I spoke with said this. He was talking about, um, he said, my gym, like yours, might have a how do you say, like, people look at you from the outside and they're scared of it, and they have maybe the wrong assumptions. And he's like, I think you can't even get them in for a free class. He's like, but maybe you could get them in for a free seminar on nutrition or overcoming back pain. He's like, they before they even want to touch a weight at your place, they want to sit in a chair and listen, which I was like, whoa. So what are your
Well,
thoughts on educating how and how to market it?
well, look, it comes to like I'm going to go like a psychology route here. People buy from, and we've all heard this, but people buy from brands that or people that they know, they like, and they trust.
Trust.
What's the number one way that you can do that? Is there's a lot of times that somebody might have um, look, I'll talk about, even you. I had known you before I knew you.
Hmm.
And then I was like, damn, like this dude's like freaking throwing shit around his backyard, climbing freaking ropes. Like he's a crazy badass. And like, not saying that that's not who you are, but like in person, you're a very approachable person, and very like, you know, um, I don't know. It's just sometimes those things can be misconstrued, right? Where
Yes.
like somebody might be a little intimidated. So it's important to get out and, allow people to trust who you are and what you do. And I don't know if it necessarily matters like what you feel like talking about, but somebody like Russell Brunson, I think he talks about like, if anybody's willing to run a webinar a week or do a live public presentation a week, it will I don't know the statistics, but it's like X amount of time before that person's a millionaire,
Hmm.
if they're good at what they do, right? Like, if
Yeah.
and obviously if you're an expert, if you were willing to do one a week, obviously your presentation is going to get better. In terms of marketing it, I mean, that's a loaded question. You can obviously socials, ads, joint ventures, affiliate
What do you
marketing.
think works best today, Dan, in this world of everybody being so busy, distracted, swiping so quickly? Do you feel like there's these kind of three go-tos when it comes to marketing?
In marketing, what, education or a gym?
A little bit, let's say both, because let's say I want to market a live event that's getting them to step foot in the gym.
Yeah. So
What
the
do you guys
first,
do for live events?
so for the gym,
Hmm.
we start with our members. Like, I think people, I sent an email about this yesterday, but if you have a living, breathing business, let's just say you have 100 customers, those 100 people in their web of people that they know, whether it's their through children, through where they work, through spouses, brothers, sisters, cousins, whomever, I think it's fair to say that those 100 people, they all know intimately at least 25 people. Would you not?
Uh,
Maybe 20 with people that they
my
work with,
my circle is pretty small.
but you work with people,
Yep.
you have kids,
Yes.
you have a wife,
Yes.
you have plenty of friends in the industry. So let's just say 20 people. I mean,
Hmm.
you're talking about, and that's light because somebody's going to know a lot. That means that the access that your members has is 2, 3, 4,000 people in their network of people that they know. And I think we have to constantly be thinking about what can we do to be positively mentioned at the dinner table. So is it like, okay, like we're going to host a how to get out of lower back pain. All right, well, make it so that your members want to show up. Are you doing a door prize? Are you making it like explicitly known with posters, SMS texts, social media? Are you announcing it on the gym floor before and after every session the week leading up to that event? At the event, do you have food? Is it comfortable? Am I sitting on the floor? Like, people know when they come to our events that are going to be taken care of. There's going to be chairs, there's going to be food, there's going to be coffee. They know we always do raffles because I love to freaking
What do you
gamble on.
raff? What do you raffle off?
I will buy gift cards to local vendors and invite them to come down.
Ah, that's a good
If
one.
you were doing a low back pain seminar, why is not there a chiropractor with a table set up? Why is there not a physical therapist? Why are we not inviting the athletic trainer from the school? We should be. And, over time, I would start with my members, like, and also too, when to empower them, you should be polling them. What are the things you want to know more about?
Yes.
What are the who are the businesses you want us to associate with in order to get you better rates? Like,
Hmm.
and asking those questions is important. Um, and obviously, look, if you're willing to throw some money at the problem, look, if you can spend, let's call it $1,000 to promote your event and you get 100 leads, the expectation is that maybe 5 to 10% of those leads actually show up. So are you
Right.
willing to spend 1,000 for 5 people to show up? To me, understanding lifetime client value of if I get one of those 5 people to show up, I've tripled or quadrupled my $1,000 investment.
If
So
they
I'm
stay
with
with
it
you for a year. Yep.
100%.
Yes. I like that. The food, the chairs, the this, the that. Um, what about
Dan Kennedy calls that I know you bust my chops about it, but Dan Kennedy talks about there's a lot of great events with great information,
mhm,
great speakers, but what they lack or is what they have is a sterile environment. What they don't have is the quote unquote dancing bears.
mhm.
And dancing bears at events are stupid shit. Like, you'll see people with, and I've seen crazy stuff at events. I'm not saying to do this, it's just kind of blue sky ideas. Money guns, balloons, raffles, giveaways, vendors, swag bags, um, the types of food, going the extra mile with open bar, paying for like a well-known prominent celebrity. Is there like, I know down the shore, like No Sean Moreno was a huge celebrity. Like, I don't know, could you ever, and I know he worked with one of the coaches, like, could you ever pay him some money to come speak in an event? Like, I don't know, I want to meet No Sean Moreno. These are the types of things that um create, like, can you get a photo booth? Like, we got a photo booth at this year's holiday Christmas party. It was a smash hit. You'd think it was like we had, these are adults, it's like a sixth grade type of thing. And but we had more shares on social media in the couple days after that than we had in a month prior.
because of the
So what
photo
was it
booth.
worth? But what was that worth?
Yeah,
The photo booth cost us $800, but we had 150 clients here, and all they were talking about was the photo booth.
it's great.
So that is the, how can we take something that is sterile
Yeah,
and make
that's
it
powerful.
fun?
Yes, very powerful. So I know you have a meeting to go to, or you got a meeting with one of your coaches. So coming up soon, Business of Strength going to be in London. And what's interesting is you guys are encouraging people stateside to travel.
Yeah,
I like
we got
that.
a bunch. We got
I
a bunch.
saw it.
The funny thing is it's cheaper right now for whatever reason. We have our annual event in Arizona this year. It's going to be at the Olympic Training Center in Utah, but it's cheaper to fly to London than it is to fly to freaking Arizona right now. So if you're in the Northeast, you can get a flight over there for $500-600, and if you're like our friends in the UK, you'll find a couch or a cheap hotel to stay in, and you'll be there with us.
I love it. So businessofstrength.com. I'll also link up the
Cool.
specific link to the event in the show notes. What else? Any
Thanks, Z.
other links they should know about?
No, no, no. I just want to make sure too, because I do have a couple minutes. The second question that you had for me, do you remember? Do you have it written down? I don't know
It
if I
was on
answered it.
this. It was kind of like, what is the education and marketing we should have? And then that first question was, is quote unquote hardcore training dead? And I think if I was to analyze it, it's like, hey, back then the garage gym business was not a thing. Now it's very common for people to splurge on a home gym, a garage gym. I mean, there's people with garage gyms that are exceeding six figures, some
You're
set.
sick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so that was not a thing. And I guess the gist of this is things evolve. And I love what you said. My question was educating and marketing. You said start with your clients. I think in business, a lot of times we're so busy trying to get other people, you forget, hey, what do the people want who are walking through our doors every week? Because they're the ones paying. They're the ones that should get priority. What do they want to learn? How can I give them and do extra for them?
Still to this day, of the members that we have in the gym and the members that we have in the Business of Strength Mastermind, is a relentless focus on improving their experience with us. And the more we get dialed in on improving the service for them, the more we've grown. Obviously, we've professionalized the marketing, and I don't want to take any credit away from Joe and our Ignite agency, because we market hard, but it is easy to market programs that have high retention rates. So it's, if you have a marketing issue, I'd always look at somebody's retention. If you have a leaky bucket, you need to shore up that bucket before we start adding more water to it, and more water is more leads. So let's make sure we're serving the absolute hell out of the people we've got, forcing them be like, damn, that experience is so good. Force them to talk about it, and then give them easy opportunities to refer friends. And when you can gain some momentum like that, then we start flying the ads. We start, showing the social proof on social media all the time of the success people are having in your gym. Then people are gonna come out of the woodwork and start doing business with you.
Love it. Danny Goods, the man.
Thanks, Z.
Businessofstrength.com, Business of Strength on Instagram. Check out the link below for the London event. And of course, you could just go to their Instagram and website to get all that. And then also, that is the name of your guys' podcast,
Yeah.
Business of Strength.
Yeah.
Yeah, great
Awesome.
stuff. All
Cool.
right,
Thanks,
Hank,
Z.
good to see you. Thank you, everybody. Strong Life Podcast. Leave a review. Follow our friend Danny Goods, and we'll talk to you guys later. Take care.